Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today's topic is going to be a review of an Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt story. And the first thing I just want to say is, the assumption we're making is that what's going on, Brad doesn't deserve. Because I know there's some people who think that he was a scumbag and stuff like that. And we'll jump into it. And I think this will be another example of how when you're dealing with somebody who's really high conflict, they just keep things going. So let's see if I can flip this over here. So let me get my windows set up. All right. So how Brad Pitt is coping with the bickering custody battle with ex Angelina Jolie. So how is he dealing? Brad Pitt is focused on work as he continues his custody battle with his ex-wife Angelina Jolie, an insider exclusively reveals in the new issue of Us Weekly. So here's the thing. If we mentioned this before, and if you've seen this story at all, a couple of years ago they had went through court, and the person, I don't know, like the appointed person or the mediator or whatever, basically got them to agree to, not get them to agree, but basically said, 50-50, this is done, move on. And everybody was like, yay, this is finally over. And then what happened is her attorneys basically said, well, that wasn't right. And they got it thrown out. So basically they're starting over. And this is one of those things, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You got to be really careful, because when you think you corner a toxic, narcissistic person, very rarely is it actually over. Most of the time, they do not go off quietly into the night, and there is extra drama that ensues. So the next paragraph is, quote, Brad has been holed up at his place, end quote, the source says of the Oscar winner, 58. Quote, he occasionally enjoys downtime at his art studio. He's busy signing off on, and brainstorming projects all the time. His production company, Plan B, is always working on stuff. So I think what it's basically what we're saying here is he's trying to cope as best as he can, which I think we all end up going through. I just want to say, I get so sick of these articles having to mention every freaking movie that they've been in. You don't even need to do that. But I mean, it's like, we know who these people are. Whatever. The Bullet Train star and the Maleficent actress, 46, who tied the knot in August 2014 after 9 years together, were declared legally single in 2019. But they are still hammering out the details for custody of their 6 children. I'm not going to use their names. I'm just going to read their ages. 20, 18, 17, 16, and twins, 13. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 kids. It is, quote, it is very clear to him that Angie has gone out of her way to delay and stall the process, the insider tells Us Magazine. Quote, all he can do is work with his legal team and file paperwork whilst responding to her claims. Month after month goes by with one piece of red tape after another, endless jumping through hoops and bickering between their lawyers with no resolution. So, one of the things that's really interesting, I guess, about these scenarios is how the family court system works so slow, which sometimes that can be to our benefit. Rarely it isn't. Just to caveat this, when I say benefit, we often get in this mode to where we feel like we have to answer everything and do everything now, and it has to be now. It doesn't. Family court moves slow. Yes, your attorney might try to push you to answer things and do things rather quickly, but take your time. Do not make decisions in chaos. Do not make decisions. I mean, you're going to be under a tremendous amount of stress, don't get me wrong, but do not make decisions when you are not in your best state of mind, because it will just cause you problems. So after the couple's September 2016 split, an altercation on the duo's private jet led to a child abuse investigation of Pitt. 2 months later, US confirmed that the Ad Astra actor was cleared by the Los Angeles County Department of Child and Family Services. So here we go, right off the bat, the nuclear missile, the silver bullet, whatever you want to call it. It's like they immediately go to that thing, to that angle, and have no idea what happened on that plane. No idea. I think if I think if I remember correctly, going off memory, there was part of that altercation was with the oldest son. So, who knows? But what I will say is this, is oftentimes you will find yourself in a situation where you get your buttons pushed, boop, your buttons get pushed. You respond poorly, bam. Actually, I'm surprised a restraining order was not included in this. Maybe it was. I'd have to go back and look. But child abuse stuff. I mean, and this is it. They know, right here, she knows they're going to file for divorce. So what's your best course of action? Let's file a case for child abuse and endangerment so that in this particular scenario, Dad, Mr. Pitt, cannot be around the kids and his trying to defend his reputation, on top of that. Now, the bad part about scenarios like this is then going to affect his career, kind of like the Johnny Depp Amber Heard scenario, where, well, actually, I would say it really hasn't, because Brad seems to be in a lot of stuff. But I would imagine emotionally, he has been not doing the most awesomest. So, all right, let me scroll down here a little bit. In his first interview after the split, the Oklahoma native, I didn't realize that, revealed that he's been going to therapy and also made the decision to get sober. One thing I'll just say often, and I was just reading another article about this or actually it was in a comment in one of my videos where a guy was saying, I went through this. It was really horrible. I was basically dying in the marriage, got out of it, was 300 pounds, lost 100 pounds. I think he even said he was like under 200 pounds, working out, healthier, doing better in his work. A lot of times people don't understand that when you're dealing with a constant abusive situation, like I have an old video, life under constant emotional abuse. And this happens to men and women. I mean, this isn't, this is the gift that is, constantly there. Your life just starts spiraling out of control. I mean, I went through this. Actually, to be honest, I was up to 300 pounds at one point. I wish I could say I was at 190, but I'm not. At least I haven't checked in a while. But I mean, I'm lighter than I was. And, sometimes people, when they go through this, they really get their life back on track. They start working out. They start eating better. All of those things, getting sober. See, and the sad part is that you can easily get into a scenario where you start drinking or using other things, and instead of fixing the problem or healing the problem, it masks it. You're kind of stuck where you're at, and you're not making any positive progress. And while that's happening, there's a significant opportunity for things to go south. So, all right, so it goes on to say, quote, "I'm really, really happy to be done with all of that," he told GQ in May of 2017. Now, it's 2022. He's been going through this since 2016. And every time he tries to find a new scenario or, whatever, this is the same thing I went through, and I'm sure a lot of you guys had. You go through these milestones, you're like, oh, okay, finally, I'm out of the fire. Things are going to get better. And God forbid the ex finds out that things are getting better for you, because then they just drop another little bowl of goodness into your world to remind you that maybe you were just premature in that. Oh my God. I'll tell you, I went through that so much for the first couple of years that when it finally ran out, when we got to this stalemate in 2 years after the divorce, where things finally started calming down, it still took me probably, God, I don't know, 6-7 months of having this PTSD response and just waiting for when's the next shoe going to drop, because it was like something's going to happen. It always happens. It has to happen. So it was it was not a good time. So I interrupted that. So I apologize. So, quote, I stopped everything except boozing when I started my family. But even this last year, things I wasn't dealing with. I was boozing too much, just like I was talking about. It just became a problem. And I'm really happy it's been half a year now, which is bittersweet. But I've got my feelings in my fingertips again. I can relate to that. I have the diabetes neuropathy, and I got nerve damage all over the place. So that's good that he was able to turn that around. According to the Insider, Pitt's, quote, sober buddies, end quote, include Flea, and you know what? They include some friends, right? So they're just name dropping here. Have been supporting him throughout the custody battle, but he's, quote, not going out and mingling in Los Angeles like he used to before the pandemic. Wow, they have like double quotes here. Quote, his will to put on a happy face and have fun out of his comfort zone has just kind of dried up. So let me ask you this. How many people watching this can absolutely relate to that? It's like you go through this hellstorm and you're changed at the other end of it. Now, I often say, and I continue to believe this, that I think our lives ultimately get better. And although these scenarios are incredibly painful, costly, emotionally, physically, financially, I do believe that once you break free from this and you put in the work and you heal from it and you understand what happened and you understand your boundaries and you understand the mistakes you made and the risks you put yourself in, you're just a better person. And I'll tell you, I've been doing this channel for 6 years. I constantly get emails from people saying, that they cannot believe how much better their life is, even with all the losses, even with the crap with the kids, even with the finances, even with the money lost and everything. It's like once you break free from this and you get out from underneath that constant freaking chaos, your life just gets tremendously better. So he is, however, excited to remodel. Oh, Jesus. You'd almost think that this article was written a year or two ago. Let me continue. He is, however, excited to remodel his home in France, which is a major point of contention throughout his split from Jolie. Quote, the whole estate is going to be remodeled and fixed up for these cool new extensions like the recording studio and other features Brad customs designing himself, the source explains. Quote, he loves the place and sees it as a spiritual home in a lot of ways. He can be himself or relax with friends. See, you know what? Remember the art? I don't know. I did that story about their France chateau winery. Can't remember the name. What do you bet? Man, I was just talking about this. What do you bet whenever this came out and she knew that, hey, you know what? I got this thing in France. I really care about it. We still own it, but whatever. And that's whenever she's like, oh, wow, oh, yeah, oh, I sold it, So now they have a whole nother court battle going on with that. That's evil. It's just like, how can I do something to hurt this person? And it's amazing. You can have a long-term relationship. They're over 10 years together, had a life together. But the second it's over, it's effing over. And they want to destroy any chance of happiness that you could potentially have. Mine did the same freaking thing. As soon as she found out I was dating, Debbie, called child support services and said, he's a deadbeat. He's not paying child support. They literally were garnishing it from my pay. And she had the nerve to say that I was a deadbeat. You should go after him. Now, full disclosure, during the shutdowns of, many, many years ago, 10 years ago or so. No, I don't remember how long ago it was, but whatever. I did take 2 weeks, 2 weeks without pay, 1 week without pay. I think it was 2 weeks without pay, so I got no paycheck. And, because I was trying to for like the year up to that, I'm like, hey, I cannot survive taking a pay cut every, they were basically, it was, they were going to furlough everyone 1 day a week for like 6 months or something. And it was like, I was going to be done. I was going to basically go bankrupt. And obviously, she was not willing to do anything. So yeah, I mean, there was a piece of that I was responsible for and I did pay for. But I mean, the whole point of it is as soon as it was like, oh my God, you met someone, how dare you meet somebody new and do something different? Well, let me drop this little, turd in your bowl, so to speak. Okay. Anyways. So they're going to talk about it. Okay. So in October 2021, the wanted actress sold her stake in the winery business of Chateau Miraval. An insider told us that Pitt wanted to buy her shares, but she decided to sell instead. It's, quote, it's been a part of his life and she had no interest, end of quote, the source told us in February, claiming that Jolie sold her part of the establishment, quote, just to punish him. She did it to hurt him, end quote. I absolutely agree with that. I mean, now I get if it's, let's say it's worth, $1 million. I'll just use, I'm sure it's probably worth more, but let's just say $1 million, the Dr. Evil. And if Brad was like, it's not worth that, so I'm not going to give you $1 million. I'll just say her share's $1 million, right? I'm not, no, it's worth 500. Okay. Now, if the story was he was trying to lowball it and she sold it to, these other people for $1 million or, $5 million or something, okay. Then maybe there's a thing to be said there. But when we read that article before, it really just seemed like, I sold it, and it was just an FU to him. That the same month, the Seven Star sued his ex-wife for allegedly selling his stake behind his back. In court documents obtained by us, Pitt further accused the Oscar winner of attempting to gain profit that she did not earn and breaching their initial agreement to only sell their shares or their stakes with mutual consent. Now, maybe that's what we're talking about right there. Maybe the, attempting to gain profits, maybe that's what they're saying. I don't know. Or it could just be, here's the problem with this crap. It's like a business, this is probably a business arrangement, but even if it's not, if it's something with the divorce, it turns into a business arrangement. So if you're busting your butt, so if you're in the family and you got one person that's not working, one person that's working, they're making $100,000 a year, the other person's making $0. You guys have assets and resources and whatever. Well, whenever the business dissolves, it doesn't matter that one person didn't effectively do anything to raise the value of quote unquote, Duane Co, so to speak, or Brad Co, or whatever they used to call them together. And it's really tough. And I've really struggled with that. When it was like basically, okay, she's going to get all this stuff, cash and prizes. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking this lady has made my life a living fucking hell for 2 decades. Everything I've made has been in spite of her, not because of her. I don't know how many times I just would get beat down constantly. I was just, I was like a zombie. And then at the end of it to be like, oh, okay, well, now you have to give her half of, everything, half your retirement, half your pension, half your assets. Fortunately, we didn't have any assets, but it was just like, what? And then I try to like, okay, let's clear it out. We're right at the point where we're even, everything's paid off. I think I had one little thing, a travel trailer that I owed some money on that I didn't have enough money to pay it off. And I ended up just selling it for what it was worth. You know, so we were done. I mean, it was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to have to give you money. I get it. And you go left, I go right. Neither one of us have any debt and whatever. And then it was like, nope, nope. I want everything I'm entitled to. I used to really, that word used to really get on my nerves. Entitled, you know, I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to that. And then anyways, my point of this is the reality is everyone's entitled to stuff. So when I finally realized, wait a minute, I'm entitled to things too. I took back ownership of that word and that phrase. So if you are struggling with that right now, if you are feeling that, know that with time you can reframe it in your own mind and realize, well, I'm entitled to things as well. So, all right, let's see where we are here. Let's see. Okay, I already read that. Whoops, let me scroll up. Oh, well, that's pretty much it. For more on Pitt and Jolie's ongoing battle, watch the video above. Anyways, so I mean, okay, so here's my point. This is what I want to remind you of. When you're dealing with somebody who's super toxic and they have resources, so running the court battle out is it's kind of in their best interest. It's going to be incredibly tough. I've said before, and I'll say it again, I think in my scenario, it was that the ex ran out of money. That the lawyer was kind of like, hey, you're owing me money and I'm done. So you can either pay me more. I don't know. But it just seemed like we finally got to the end. We settled and stopped. And to be honest, other than whenever I did take her, we did have to do some stuff on the retirement stuff, or not pension, the 401k. That was a nightmare. And I had a new retainer and everything. So one more court battle. She didn't start it. I started it because there was a mistake. If you guys want to hear about that story, I can tell you later. Just put it down in the comments below. But I think, let me pull this back up right here. I think this right here, 20, going through the ages, 20, 18, 17, 16, and 13. So she's already ran out the clock that the 20-year-old and the 18-year-old are off the dole. I mean, they can see Brad if they want to. They cannot see him. They are adults. They can decide. The 17-year-old, the reality is, one more year and that person's off the off the thing in family court. I mean, maybe he could get them to order the kids to do something with him, but the reality is that it's probably not going to work. The 16-year-old is, when the 17-year-old is, is just, let me back up. When the 18-year-old or 17-year-old right now ages out, the 16-year-old is going to be a year out. So, I mean, he's got to make the decision. I mean, so he's basically only battling for these twins because that's what's going to take time. And if parental alienation is going on, and from what we've read in the past, it seems like it is, these kids are probably going to be poisoned to not want to do anything with them. Now, the one benefit that Brad's going to have that probably like a lot of people like myself don't is money, right? You take somebody who has millions of dollars and you cut it in half, well, they still have millions of dollars, right? You take somebody like us or like me who doesn't have millions of dollars and you cut everything in half and then spend a ton of it in attorney fees and extra fees and all the other crap. Effectively, what you have is somebody who is financially ruined and is going to have a very complicated life going forward. However, I will say this. I really enjoy my life right now. It is better than it has ever been. Not having that daily chaos, coming home to somebody who's just nitpicking, boop, 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 poking at you all the time is freaking amazing. So on that, what I do want to say now is thank you to the channel members who help make this make this channel keep going. I really appreciate it. It means a lot that you guys hit the button and say, hey, you know what? We really support what this guy's doing. So thank you so much for that. The names are scrolling on the screen. I really appreciate it. And on that, I will catch you on the next one.